Okay, when you're rendering the nose, when you're tracing the nose, there's two things you need to trace. You need to trace the bridge of the nose, which goes from the nostril, left nostril to the right nostril. You go from there to there, and then you're going to trace the edge of this side and the edge of this side. You do not have to trace this area in here. You're going to do that with a blending stick. Okay, you guys are going to be creating noses today. Okay, so this is your nose right here, nose example. Okay, so here is we're going back to this right here. Whenever we're doing a nose, we're gonna start out with this type of shape. Okay, I'm gonna look at his here for an example. I call it like a seagull type shape. It's like as if you're drawing a bird that's flying in the distance of like a landscape scene or something. Okay, you're starting out with this kind of shape like that. Now some noses are gonna be like a little bit more pointier and longer. Some are gonna be more flat, some are gonna be more wide. I was just trying to mimic this shape right there in between those two nostrils. And then my next step is I'm gonna put a hook on this side, and I'm gonna put a hook on this side. These are the only parts you trace on your portrait. So if this is your portrait right here, okay, this is your portrait right here, you're gonna trace from here to here like that, and you're gonna trace a hook on this side, and you're gonna trace a hook on that side. It's a little bit harder to see, so you wanna choose a portrait where you can kind of see most of the features real well. I use this one as an example because all the features are very clear and you know, there's not a lot of blurriness to it. Okay, so we go back to our nose right here, and we have the basis for starting the nose. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to darken in the nostril. Now I'm only going to darken in the top. I don't want to like go ahead and darken in this whole thing super dark because it's going to make him look like a pig. It's not going to look right. Okay, so what you want to do is you just want to darken in the top of it right there, like that. I'm going to darken in the top of this nostril right there, and then a little artist trick to make it look more realistic than even the picture is going to be to take your blending stick. We're going to zoom in for this. And you're going to use the blending stick to just use little tiny like swirling motions. Okay, I'm using a little bit more of the pointy part of the blending stick in here to kind of fade that down so it doesn't look like it's, you know, you're not drawing a nose like this where you're like doing dark outlines. Here's your nose, and then putting like a real dark big old nostril here and a big old nostril right there. That's not what we want to do. Okay, so we're just kind of making it subtle and soft and slight. Okay, fading that down. And while I'm at it, I'm going to put a little bit of shadow underneath this part of the nose right here. It's going to kind of help make the nose pop off. I'm going to fade these hooks into the bottom here and here like that. I'm going to fade those in. I'm going to kind of blend these in a little bit on the sides here as well. So it all just kind of blends together, and it's going to start creating like a shadow underneath the nose. Now, you might think it's like kind of looking like a mustache or something like that, but you know, it's going to end up looking right once you add more shading. Now I have a dark outline right here. I'm kind of not liking that dark outline, so I'm going to kind of make it a little bit lighter and more soft. So I'm just going to use my blending stick to create that outline, and I'm going to use my blending stick to just kind of use a little bit of, if you look at this picture again, we're going to zoom out. If I can do this. Okay, so we're going to zoom out so we can look at this one here. And we're going to kind of bring some blending stick kind of up here and up into where the eyebrow would be. Okay, so it's kind of coming up here. And it's just going to kind of fade into that eyebrow area. There's a little bit of shading up in here, up in this general region right there, you can see. So I'm going to bring a little bit of that shading up into there. We're just going to kind of flow that down. You can bring a little bit of shading real light and soft into this area as well. And then, you know, you don't see it in this picture, but I like to add a little bit of shading around the crown of the nose here to give it that like rounded type effect, real slight. Don't make it too dark. Okay, the darker you make it, the more it's going to kind of stand out. You know, I just want it to be like kind of soft and subtle, so I'm just like being real light with it so I can just barely see it. around those edges. And then this side is just going to get like a nice little soft touch too on the side here, and it's going to fade up to the eyebrow area. Again, let's zoom in on this so you guys can see it. Okay, looking pretty good. And you know, you just again look at the picture. You know, the picture might call for a little bit less shading around there, but you know, it's just like a little artist trick that kind of makes it look a little bit more like the nose is kind of popping off the page and coming at you a little bit. Okay, so a little bit more realistic there. So that is your nose tutorial.